Hello fly humans and welcome to top 5 premium tanks that you should definitely own, and obviously it's not this one. Now this list will not include tank destroyers, and it will also not include vehicles that haven't been sold for any reasonable price yet, which means that vehicles like the Type 57 are completely disregarded in the making of this list, because everything above 10,000 gold for a tier 8 premium tank is unreasonable and in my opinion invalid. However, we start off with the most important one, and that is the T54E2, most likely the best tier 8 in the game. This tank has it all. It has armor, it has mobility, it has gun depression, it has 310 alpha damage, solid penetration, and it's about a jack of all trades. It can do everything. It has almost no weaknesses, and this is a vehicle that you should definitely pick up if you have the chance for it. 8,500 gold is what this vehicle was sold for, and that is about what it is going to be worth. And now we're up here with the 54E2, and obviously, where would you put this vehicle outside of a hilly terrain? If you put this thing in a flat city, you're not playing this tank correctly at all. So always try to go for the medium side, try to go for the hills. That's where this tank belongs. In a flat city, it has absolutely zero place to be in. And some people don't really realize that, unfortunately, and that's sad, but I can't do more than tell them. At this point now, we have a problem though, as in the enemy teams do like to capture the base. Now, capping the base is either a tool at the end of the battle to lure light tanks to you, or at the beginning of the battle, you capture the base because you can't actually shoot the enemy. So, that is pretty much what's happening right here. And that is very sad. We don't like the base cappers. Sit there and do nothing. So, at this point, I'm trying to go down, trying to somewhat get closer to the cap circle, right? To get an advantage, maybe trying to decap them, obviously to get them out of the cap circle, because that's not where they should be. If you want to win, you gotta fight for it. That's my opinion on that. And now the STA1 is pushing me here, and at this point, I'm very separated from the team, which means I'm now going to try to get out of here. Obviously, the STA is trying to circle around me. And now, I'm going to turn around, and I'm going to head straight forward, because I also know that the WZ is going to go and try and go for me. Now, I know that the STA is trying to track me, and that's why you use 2 repair kits. Because if you have 2 repair kits, you can keep repairing all you want, and you will get out of situations like this a lot easier. There you go, repair kits back, and I'm out of there. Now, we have an advantage there. The Object 2 has thrown away, and is now very mad at the team. And the enemy continues to cap happily ever after. Now, 2,300 damage so far, which is very nice. And I'm just going to move back. I'm fighting 1v2 here at this point, but I haven't died yet. And that is, first of all, because I'm better than them. And not trying to brag, it's fact. So, and because this vehicle can fight absolutely everything, even higher tier tanks, which is just amazing. And it can do it all. No matter where you put it, it's going to work somehow. And at that point, unfortunately, what happens in this game that the enemies, they don't want to fight, they cap it out, and that is sad. The next one is the Chimera, a medium tank with extremely high alpha damage, yet low DPM. 440 alpha damage for a medium, which means you can outtrade any other medium tank. That combined with 10 degrees of gun depression, solid mobility, and armor that works just about fine enough, makes this tank definitely worth picking up. However, not for 10,000 gold, because it was sold cheaper before. And we go with the Chimera, and unfortunately a team of misfortune, because they are in fact going to the bad side on this map. Now, what I'm doing here, in this case, I will not go with them, because my philosophy here is, when they're going to the bad side, cool, do it. If the enemy's over there as well, they can fight them, whatever. If the enemy's out here, then 2 things are going to happen. Either I'm going to fight them and win, or I'm going to fight them and lose, and the match is lost anyway. If I were to go over there, it will most likely result in a loss anyway, because as you can see right here, they are 3 out here. At this point, I'm deciding, okay, the Type's sitting back there, he's doing his game, he's not gonna go forward and attack, which means I'm gonna distance myself from the position. It is a 2v3 at that point, well, 1v3 with the Types in action. Then I will get myself out of that position and attack where there are a lot of enemy tanks, because you always want to have an advantage, right? You always want to have an advantage of some sort. I can't get an advantage on the medium side, which means I will reposition and go to the bad side to get my advantage there, because that's how you win. And that's why I never recommend going to sides like this, because if you get yourself in there, you have to automatically fight against a slight disadvantage already, which isn't great. And if the enemy doesn't play exactly into your hands how you want them to, it will most likely result in a loss, unless the enemy team is completely incompetent. So, there's a lot of factors in play at Blitz. It's not a black and white game, of course not, because you can clearly see the color. However, certain tiny advantages, you definitely want to get those. And for example, you don't want to fight when you know that it is most likely going to be a loss. That type 59, he stayed there, he did nothing, and he let himself get killed. Meanwhile, I repositioned, I moved out. Because fighting a 2v3, sure, you can do that. However, it is a disadvantage that you don't want to do. And if you reposition and get yourself an advantage somewhere else, that will be far more beneficial. So, unfortunately, our type friend is not aware of that. Very easy conclusion, and is rather fighting 3 tanks alone, rather than trying to reposition. So, that's very much unfortunate. Now at this point, I've almost done 3,000 damage, which is very nice. I mean, and I'm very glad that I didn't help that type 59, given that. So, let's see. What we can do. Yeah. What's a guy? What a guy. That is very sad. I am very disappointed in the type. Oof. And I'm very disappointed in the rest of the team. However, if you have the advantage, more dummies beat less dummies. The next one on the list is the Object 2FTU, and yes, the Type 57 exists, but it's sold at a ridiculous price, therefore it is not considered. Now, I know the main difference is anyway that the one has gun depression, this one doesn't. The Object 2FTU is a very easy tank to play, it can be fun, however, for most part it will be somewhat boring. However, it is a very solid vehicle, especially for a new player. That is something that'd be very good to play. Now, I could be a clown and go see, or I could go out here and brawl and take out the medium tanks. I have the better armor, I have the higher alpha damage, I might as well go for it. Now, at this point, the team is also around me. We have one misclassification on our team, where he's playing a heavy tank, but he thinks he's a tank destroyer, so he hasn't quite realized yet that he's playing a different class of tank. I hope that he was playing a tank destroyer in the battle before, because that would definitely help him. Now, the Barask, some call it OP, but it is definitely not, and it's very player dependent. So, at this point, all we gotta do is push them. See, we control the flow of the battle. If you control the flow of the battle, you win the battle. It's just that beautiful. And obviously, if you're playing in a vehicle, that is very easy to master, and also very hard to fight for the enemy, given the lower plate is massive. The lower plate is massive on this vehicle, it's just a big weak spot. However, these days, no one can aim anymore, so that is not necessarily a disadvantage at that point. And you can use this vehicle to a great degree. And obviously the Russian bias is going to help you out as well. Now again, we have gotten the advantage. See, more tank beat less tank. That is true for the most part. So that's how Blitz works. A 5 versus 3 is very rarely going to end in the side of the 3, unless the 5 hesitate and are incompetent. So, which unfortunately happens way too many times. But you see, it's not one thing's that, one thing's that. There are many factors in Blitz, and you gotta consider all of them. Which is why it is somewhat difficult to master, but once you do, it is just very easy, and that is 2.4k damage right there. The enemy heavies have made the mistake of going to the bad side, just sitting around. The 111, our tank destroyer friend, is still alive. He's doing a great job, somehow, at keeping them at bay. And that will result in a very easy victory right here, which is beautiful. Now, it can also go the other way, obviously, but that is somewhat unlikely. Now, 3,200 damage, 2 up to you. Easy to play, solid price, great to pick up. Next, the 112-2, a vehicle that is like the IS-3, except it's not as horrible as the IS-3. In fact, it is relatively solid. You have a Russian 400 alpha damage gun with 6 degrees of gun depression, solid speed, and very solid armor as well, which is a tank that is very fun. And if you don't want the 2FTU, then this can be a very strong alternative. Now, this tank, again, what we're going to do here is we're not going to go over there. I want to get an advantage wherever I possibly can. At this point, I am seeing that the medium side is completely empty and that the Juto and the Tiger 1 are isolated. However, I can use them very greatly as HP stops for the enemy. At this point, I know all the enemies are in this side, even the medium tanks, which means I have no confidence in the skill of the enemy medium tanks, which means, in my eyes right here, they're extremely easy to attack, which in 90% of cases, when medium players go city, they will be. And now, their enemies are completely surrounded. And now at this point, I'm going to choose, where are the enemies heading? They're looking more towards the Juto and the Tiger, which means I will go around the back and have a go. Especially because medium tanks are faster. So my medium tanks right there, they're going to sit around, they can reposition, and I can play with them a lot nicer at this point. Now, here I see, okay, the Tiger's now getting pushed, which means I might get a couple of shots onto them while they cross to attack the Tiger. If I don't do that, I can wrap around behind them and shoot the guys that are stuck in the corner, because obviously they're currently focusing on the Tiger. They won't notice me, so I will just be able to swoop around behind them, just like this, what I'm doing right here. Again, the enemies let themselves get split up. You know, at this point, I'm YOLOing in between them because you can see I have no confidence in whatsoever. Now, the problem with this situation right here is that they're on the bad side. Right now, medium tanks have pushed in very aggressively, and that's not necessarily what you want to do, because if you get in a very close fight with the medium against the heavy, in a lot of cases, the heavy unfortunately wins, because that's just how it goes. And now, it is a 3 versus 4. So, despite having the better position, as you can see right here, it is not always clear-cut that you will come out on top in the end. However, it is definitely an advantage that you would like to have. At this point, all I'm going to have to do is reload. Now, we have an SU that is one shot. We have 3 enemy heavies that are remaining. I'm full HP still, and that is where it will come very handy. Now, 2 FTU is now one shot, and the other one is also one shot, which is very nice. Now, one of them is still very, very healthy. It is an IS-3 defender, so it's not the greatest of tank. It is a tank that is definitely weaker than the 112-2, because the 112-2 is basically what any Russian Russian heavy tank wants to be, and isn't, basically. As in an IS-3, an IS-3 defender, an IS-6, a IS-5. This is what they want to be, but they're not. Now, at this point, we have a FV-201 firing at me from the side. This thing has very solid armor. As you can see, I'm kind of sideways angling, because this way I can angle both towards the IS-3 defender and hopefully have the FV bounce off my side. And then there's nothing you can do about it. My hit points prevail. This is a tank that is definitely worth picking up if you don't want the 2 FTU. If you have the 2 FTU, maybe not. And at last, we have the AMX M4 49, a vehicle that has been sold at good prices and has good performance, which is about all you need. You have 10 degrees of gun depression, you have 310 alpha damage, you have very solid mobility, and you have solid front armor as well. All you need to do really well with it. Now, this tank is like the T-54E2, a essential jack of all trades. It can do about everything. You wouldn't want to sit in a corner, though, with it, because it does have 10 degrees of gun depression, so this thing belongs very much in the hills. Now, the weaknesses of this vehicle are essentially that it's not the T-54E2, and that it's a very long boy. The side armor isn't really that amazing. Now, the reason why this thing is still on the list is very simply because of its pricing in the past, and hopefully also in the future. It would be kicked out by any of the honorable mention that I will mention at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. It would be kicked out by some of those, something like a T-77, if those vehicles were to be sold at a similar reasonable price. So that's why the MX is still on here, because it's just a good value, and that's what it's about, really. You want to have a good value. You don't want to... Yeah, you can spend 100,000 on a car, but you can't drive differently than a 50,000 car. You know, you can still only drive the speed limit, and you probably still have to subscribe to the seat heating anyway. So, that's lovely. This is Wargaming, not Nvidia. And not even they get away with the ridiculous pricing. So, don't fall for that. Don't buy the extreme-priced premium tanks. Obviously, Wargaming is trying to inflate the gold prices quite a lot. Don't let them get through with that. Don't buy tanks that are bad value. Because obviously, if they sell them, they will keep selling them. Wargaming is a company. They want your money. They don't care if you're having fun. Well, they want you to... Ideally, they want you to have fun a bit so that you then get incentivized to spend money. But they don't care about you. They care about your money, for the most part. So, in the store, be wary of what you buy. There are good offers in the shop from time to time. However, they're probably by design quite rare. Now, this vehicle is one of those good offers that have been sold from time to time. And why is that? It has everything. There is essentially... The weakness is the tank itself. It doesn't have any obvious major flaws to it. It has a good gun. It has good gun depression. It has mobility. It has the armor. It has a bit of everything. The only thing that you complain about, it doesn't have enough of all the things. Obviously, it doesn't have very high DPM. Now, one thing I have to mention here is the Centurion Action X, or the Carnarvon Action X, actually. The Carnarvon Action X, it will not be on this list. Because it is not good. Stop it. Stop it. So, at this point, what we're going to do, again, a lot of our heavies went to this side. I was farming the medium tanks and having a great time while our heavies have died. Yeah, that's unfortunate for them. So, at this point, we're 3 versus 2. And what we want to do here, I know the Steyr has no armor, and I know the AT is low HP, right? He's over there. You see? Yeah, he's somewhere over there. So, I'm gonna back off. I'm gonna back off. You know, because I want to be able to out-trade these guys, right? I want to be able to make sure that I can shoot twice for every time they shoot once. I'm still very healthy. I still got my hit points, which you can start to see a pattern here, right? You do. The easiest way to do damage is at the beginning of the game because it's disorganized, at the end of the game because it's also disorganized. In the middle, it's most often a somewhat of a stalemate. Now at this point, 3.5k, is that 3.5k? Didn't even notice, but at this point, yeah, I shouldn't have pushed that yaw, and because I just got shot. But at this point, I'm trying to sort of get out of here. I don't want to fight both of them at the same time, obviously. That's not what I want to do. And now it's... Oh, the yaw's going for the AT right there. So I might be able to take a shot at him, because if he keeps pushing the AT will then be able to finish him off, which would be very nice to do, right? You gotta help out your team when you can, but necessarily, if you are the better player, you want them to help out you. So, at this point, they're gonna push. Okay, can we shoot the O here? Yup, it works. Beautiful. And now, Steyr and me against the 53 TP, which is just nice. And don't throw away. Is he gonna throw away? Yeah, he gets one shot, but he's gonna throw away. Dang it. Now at this point, he has to shoot 3 times. I have to shoot twice, and I reload faster than him. Yeah, that didn't. That went somewhere. That shot went somewhere, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to use the AT here as cover. 53 TP is a great tank in its own right. And that is one of the weak spots of the AMX, by the way. Those side angles. Do not try to side scrape in this vehicle. These plates at the front that are angled towards the outside, they're pretty much always a weak spot. So, while this vehicle can be very solid, it isn't the greatest anymore. And it is on this list because of its price to performance that it has. And that's 4.7k damage in an ace. I think that's a nice way to round it out. And let's have a look at a couple of other mentions as well. Thank you for watching. And an honorable mention goes to, say, Centurion 5-1 that would, if it had better alpha damage, a amazing choice to pick up as well. And to those that haven't been sold at reasonable prices yet, the T77 is solid, could be sold for 8,000 gold, would be worth it at that point. Same with the Kyler. However, the E75 TS was available for free, so it doesn't really matter. The Type 57 can be worth it for around 8,000 to 9,000 gold. However, again, if you have the Object 2 up to you, this vehicle is absolutely pointless. And the Borask can be a fun little vehicle, however, it is difficult to play, and again, has not been sold for a reasonable price yet.